Hi, I'm Jace, and welcome to the Freecaster Fables support channel, where I talk about Dungeons & Dragons, Adventurers League, and how that's different to the usual game that you play at home. So just a little bit about me before we get in. I Dungeon Master a lot. I play a little bit as well, and I've been doing so for about 5 to 10 years, as I've gone through different stages of my life with reading and watching movies and playing video games. So I currently am running 2 different Adventurers League games. I run a home game myself, and I play in 2 other games. It's probably about 3 to 4 games weekly, but it does change up a little bit. So let's start off with a very common question. What is Adventurers League? It's just D&D as per usual, except you don't have the same Dungeon Master necessarily every single time. You have to play a standardized set of the 5th edition rules, so there is only particular variant rules in play. For example, there is no flanking, but there is usually grid-based combat. You can play with anyone that has a character that is legal. You can play anywhere you like. It doesn't have to be a gaming store or home. You can play it at your park if you find a table and the wind is good. You can play with different dungeon masters, or the same one every time if you like. They do bookings, they do conventions, they do the home games if you would prefer to play at home. There's all sorts of things like that. And most of all, the biggest difference is that there is a standard set of rewards for the players and for the dungeon masters. To briefly go into that, there is a minimum amount of gold that a player can earn when you play a certain amount of hours. There is a maximum amount as well. And for Dungeon Masters, they receive the same benefits. There is some downtime that you can see in the Player's Handbook and Xanathar's Guide to Everything. And the Ghost of Saltmarsh and Dungeon Master's Guide has some downtime in there as well. And there are renown benefits. Renown is kind of mentioned in the Dungeon Master's Guide as well. I think it's in a couple of other books, but mostly Renown is all about Adventurers League and the different benefits that you can get from that. It ties directly into affecting your character in an Adventurers League session. For example, in Tier 1 or rank 1, there's a there's a tie in there with tier and rank. At rank 1 Renown, you can get an inspiration point and a potion of healing every session, but you lose it at the end of the session. Whether you used it or not, it doesn't matter. And rank 2, you're able to receive up to 100 gold worth item from the Player's Handbook. And things go up as you increase in level. They go the different ranks. There's 4 ranks and there's 4 tiers, and so when you go to a different tier, that means when you hit level 5 until 10, blah blah blah, you go to tier 2. And then when you go to tier 3, you're rank 3. How is Adventurers League different? It's a big question that I get asked quite a lot. They say, Jace, you're running Adventurers League here. What is it that is... Why is this different to normal games? Why can't I just play at home with my other Dungeon Master? What's Adventurers League? Why should I play? Blah, 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 blah. Adventurers League is more structured in that there is usually some kind of a deadline that you have to complete the module in. That is because the module, if you don't complete that module in that session, you won't receive the benefits. If you have a nice Dungeon Master, they will try and get the same group around the next time around, and then you can complete the session, though I believe that is a rarity. If you don't complete the module, they'll probably skip something or make something really easy or fast-track something over the last 20 minutes and then finish it off, and then you kind of feel cheated of the experience a little bit. But simply put, it's not so much a sandbox, it's a little railroady. You kind of get pushed in the direction of the module. You can't really go outside of that. If you want that kind of an experience, that's what a home game is for. Adventurers League is specifically about finishing a particular storyline over the course of about 3 hours. Modules are usually 2 hours, larger ones are about 4, sometimes they go over several sessions. But usually a module, in my experience, I've found them to be between 2 and 4 hours long. limitations on classes and races and etc. for your character. the common rule that everybody talks about is called PHB +1. That is Player's Handbook plus one other supplementary source. If you create a character for Adventurers League, you make it using the Player's Handbook, and then you make it using one other source book. You cannot use any more source books than that one. If you pick a Kenku out of Volo's Guide to... No, it is Volo... Yes, it is Volo's Guide to Monsters. You are stuck with Volos. You don't get any class differences. You're stuck with Volos. If you pick Xanathar's Guide to Everything, you get a whole slew of different subclasses that you can choose from, but no races. And so you have to be quite particular in which +1 book you choose, because you're stuck with that after you hit level 5. Before level 5, there's a little bit of changes that are allowed to happen, but that's fine. That's a little bit more complicated topic that you can ask your Dungeon Master about. No homebrew. Flat out, no homebrew. No Unearthed Arcana, no D&D wiki, no homebrew thing that you wrote up in a module, submitted to DM's Guild and was approved as a CCC module. Not allowed. Only allowed to use the hardcovers and the D&D Beyond equivalents, including the Tortle package, which is technically part of Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Next part, official and sanctioned adventurers only. That means you can't play Adventurers League with your custom wrote it in your study at home adventure. As much as you put a lot of work and effort into that great adventure, you can't use it. It has to be an official adventure that you submitted to DM's Guild, which means it would be a CCC community-created content adventure. There's limitations on that. That's a whole new slew of information for me to talk about. That can be done in another video. But simply put, you can only run the hardbacks. You can only run the DM's Guild available modules, the DDAL numbers, or the CCC dash, and then a whole bunch of letters usually. Those are the types of modules that you can run because they are standardized and they are accepted through Wizards of the Coast Adventurers League team. What is it that you need to play D&D AL? Nothing more than you would usually bring to a D&D table, except you do need to bring some kind of recording sheet, be that a journal or a log sheet, or you write it on your phone. Doesn't matter exactly how you do it, but you need to bring something like that, because you need to record your adventure, you need to record your... well, you don't need to record your Dungeon Master, but it is mostly recommended that you do that so that people can track different things down. You need to record the amount of money that you earn, your downtime, and magic items. Mostly that's it. Bring your imagination as usual, bring your character sheet as usual, be that on a phone, tablet, piece of paper, scratched on the back of a serviette in the cafe where you had a great idea. That's fine. You can do that if you really want to. Pen, paper, dice, the usual. And approximately 3 to 4 hours of time. Because if you stand up and leave the table in the middle of an adventure, it will annoy your Dungeon Master. It probably will tick off the other players as they were expecting you to be there for the whole time, and you won't get your rewards. So you've practically wasted the time you were there sitting down. Unless you enjoyed it, then maybe you didn't waste it entirely. But you didn't get the rewards. And that's kind of half of Adventurers League. There's less roleplay so much in Adventurers League. Depending on your Dungeon Master, you can get Dungeon Masters that are all numbers and combat, and so they kind of fast track you through to the combat, and they just give you the information that your NPCs and quest givers tell you. They just read it straight out of their little booklet. Other Dungeon Masters, which I add myself to that group, other Dungeon Masters like doing voices. They like giving a little bit more personality, because that is in fact included in the modules. They have a little block at the bottom that says, Ragnar Redtooth has this and that and a daughter, and he likes talking like this, and he likes helping the people of Parnast, and blah 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 blah, things like that. DCI numbers are no longer required. You used to require a DCI number, that's like an ID or a serial number. They're now only required for games that you have to register with Wizards of the Coast, such as the Magic competitive play at your local gaming store, Magic Arena, which is the online game, and there's other things there as well that you need to have a DCI number for, but you don't need one for Adventurers League anymore, except if it's a convention. I'm not sure on that one. I'm going to have a read of that one. Is Adventurers League hard to play? Only if it's hard to play Dungeons & Dragons. If you find it difficult, Adventurers League will be just as difficult. If you're finding it fairly easy to get through, Adventurers League will be much the same. You make sure that you find a group that you like, a dungeon master that you like, or if you're just a really free-flowing, chilled-out person, you can probably make do with any old group. As long as you register beforehand and say, hey, I want a seat, can I get that seat? Pay the money if there is a ticket price, then you'll be fine. It's not any more difficult to play. You don't need a huge amount of commitment, like your weekly game commitment type deal. You don't need that. You can go, oh, I've got a free day here. Is there Adventurers League on? There is. You go play, and then you don't play again for another 3 weeks because you didn't have a break, and then you had a Saturday off. And now you go and play your second game, as an example. With a knowledgeable dungeon master, they can answer any of the questions that you might have. They should have printouts for the player's guide, the dungeon master's guide, the frequently asked questions. They should have the errata and the sage advice on hand. They should be fairly knowledgeable of D&D. If they're just your friend and you're running Adventurers League, that would be fine. Excuse me. If they're just your friend and you're playing Adventurers League at home, there's less of an hour thing, probably, and so there's less problem with it, but it is recommended that you know as much of the rules as possible, and so that you don't make mistakes, because being a standardized set of rules, your character going onto another table might be more or less powerful if you've done something wrong than the other players who have been playing as close to correctly as they have been. Spoilers and disclaimer, I have made mistakes. I first played Adventurers League using the flanking rules, and then I found out that flanking was not used. The second adventure, I said, but my players said, oh, we have an inspiration point and a healing potion to use. And I said, no, because that doesn't make any sense. And then I read the player's guide, and turns out that they do have those things. So I was wrong, and I said sorry to those players, and I'm still playing with them because I said sorry. Communication is key. Last thing, why is it that you would want to play Adventurers League? If you don't have a Dungeon Master friend, you don't have a home game, you don't have a huge group of friends that are available to play, that's a good reason to play. You can go and make some new friends, or you don't need to make them as friends, you can just stay as the acquaintances or players if you don't want them, or you have too many friends. You can just go and play with them. No commitment required. You go to a different game next week. No problem. If your group doesn't play enough for your liking and you want more, common complaint, issue, request, whatever. You're in 2 games a week, and that's not enough. You've got the time to do more games, so you go and find your Adventurers League community, and you play more games. Easy as that, really. There's more to it than that, so if you're interested, have a read of the linked material in the description, and please support the Freecaster Fellowship by liking this video and subscribing to this channel. We're also on Facebook, Tumblr, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and itch.io for the digital published adventures, setting documents, supplementary material, and so on. And we're also at the website www.freecasterfablesforge.com.au. Thanks for putting up with the blurry webcam, changes in quality, and kind of okay Guitar Hero microphone that I have right here. With your support, hopefully that we can take this to bigger and better pastures. But for now, we're done here.